What's up, guys? We are Tottenham TV here. As you know, every Spurs fan around the country is anxiously waiting for any sort of transfer news, and who better to bring in than Sky Sports' very own Michael Bridge. Welcome to the channel, Michael. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a busy few days.
Let's hope so. Let's get right into it. Michael, what can you tell us? Anything happening on deadline day? Jack Grealish, is there any chances that the deal can be back on?
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm going to stick my neck out and say I think that will still happen. The player's very, very keen for it to happen. Steve Bruce totally understands. The problem Spurs have got really at the moment is that Villa's owners are very strong owners. They've got good contacts. That includes Jorge Mendes at Wolves. And they're not to be messed with, basically. And they come in and they clearly see that Jack Grealish is a key player for them. If Villa were promoted tomorrow, Grealish would start, wouldn't he? So, you know, he's probably one of their very few Premier League assets. If you look at Aston Villa at the moment, and they're looking at it and say, look, we've not had an acceptable bid. They've probably seen other bids like Maddison to Leicester. They probably think he's better than Maddison, which is open up for debate. And they want big money for him, and Spurs don't value him over 30 million. So, even though they've come out and said Villa that he's not going, Grealish has responded, and it's my understanding, and what we were told today. I was actually in the offices in the afternoon. That representatives of Grealish think, still want this to happen. I mean, let's not forget, Grealish is an Aston Villa fan. He loves Aston Villa, but he feels it's the right time to move on. He feels Tottenham is the club for him. So even though we have seen that Villa have said he's not for sale and he's not going anywhere, I'd still be surprised if he doesn't end up at Tottenham.
How far apart are Spurs and Villa in valuation? Do you know any specifics?
No, I mean, I don't think anyone does, to be honest, apart from Daniel Levy and Villa's new owners. What we were told, the £25 million bid was put in. Villa are looking for maybe even 10 million more. We've all got our opinions. He's English, he's young. But for me, if I were Tottenham, I wouldn't go over 30 for him. So I think something will happen. Maybe even a loan on him or back there or something. I don't know. But I think something will get well. I mean, something will be going on as we're talking now. The thing is, the player wants to move. And player power usually wins the day. He won't want to go under a cloud and he won't want to hand in any transfer requests. But time is running out. The key as well is Aston Villa are spending at the moment. They've just signed John McGinn from Hibernian, who's a very similar player to Jack Grealish, attacking, brings the ball forward, very talented player. They've just signed someone from Bristol City, I think. So they're spending money.
I guess it could be the Grealish money.
Yeah, so as I say, I mean, I'm going to stick my neck out a little bit here, but I do think it will still get done, although it'll be quite messy, really.
Is it going to be a late one, you think, right down to the deadline?
Well, the problem is this deadline. It's usually 11 o'clock, isn't it? So these deals usually go over at like 11:05. But it's 5 o'clock this time. Everything is so early. The season's starting early. Deadline day's early. The time is early. So you'd hope that Daniel's got plenty of espressos at the moment because you won't be going to bed because he won't have much time tomorrow. So he'll want to get this done because, let's be frank, they're the only club yet to sign anyone. That's not good.
And with obviously under 24 hours to go of the window now, do you see Spurs doing any other business? Like in terms of is there anything you're hearing in terms of any names you can mention?
Well, as I've been saying, I've been on the Sky Sports News podcast all summer, and I've stuck to this, and I'll stick to it now. It all depends on outgoings. Moussa Dembele, Danny Rose, and Toby Alderweireld was our understanding that Tottenham will listen to offers for the three. As it stands now, my understanding is I think Dembele and Rose will stay. But, I could wake up tomorrow and he could get a bid from Everton or Wolves or whatever. We just don't know. But as it stands, I think they'll stay. The one most likely to leave out of the three for me is Toby. Now, if he is to leave, he divides opinion in terms of whether he should go or not. If he is to go to Manchester United, and I'm not speaking as a Sky employee now, I'm talking as a Tottenham fan, Tottenham need to talk to Manchester United about Anthony Martial because you are strengthening a rival if you give them Toby Alderweireld. Manchester United need a defender. They're really poor at the back. And if you're giving someone who's arguably, in my opinion, the best defender in the league when fit, I noticed on social media, people do forget very quickly how good Toby is. They say, oh, he's so injury prone, oh, he's not the player he used to be. Well, I'm not sure. I think that's more you trying to tell yourself that you're not going to miss him very much. For me, he's still a top player. And if he does go and Tottenham don't replace him, it only takes an injury to Sanchez and Vertonghen, who have played the World Cup. I don't think Carter-Vickers necessarily cuts it at the moment. Foyth isn't fit. It's not fair to thrust him in the Premier League as well. So, yeah, Dyer can slot back there, sure. But, I mean, for me, he's more of a midfielder now. So, I don't know. I mean, you look at Poch, and he's been very calm over the past few days and weeks. And I'm still hoping, as I say, as a fan, not a Sky employee, I just hope that they've got a couple of targets where they go, bang, we can get them because something's happened, something's triggered it. But, as you say, it's tomorrow. So they really are leaving it ridiculously late.
Going back to Toby, there are rumours going around social media, and I think from quite a few newspapers that there is actually a pre-agreement already with Man United, and Spurs are just waiting to maybe find a replacement. Is there any truth to that?
Not to my knowledge. I think Tottenham would be willing to sell, obviously, but Mourinho likes Harry Maguire a lot. I don't think they'd sign both. But the figures being touted around for Maguire make me think, just go and get Toby, because I think he's much better than Maguire. I mean, I like Maguire, don't get me wrong, but I think you're adding 25 million on the back of 3 or 4 good games in the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting one. I mean, as I say, on a fan's point of view, I really don't want to see him go. But when he did sign for Tottenham, and we learned of this clause, this 25 million clause, if Spurs renegotiated his contract, that was always had the danger of biting us on the backside. You hear as well with the contract negotiations they had just before Christmas, apparently they didn't go well at all. The disagreement was so far apart that they've not actually sat down at the table again. So, I mean, whether that's down to Daniel or Maurizio or both of them are in agreement. Maurizio was the one that said about Kyle Walker he was happy for him to move on. I'm sure he had a big say in Toby, because I think he only made 3 Premier League starts after in 2018. So it'll be interesting. It's amazing how this time tomorrow we'll know whether he's a Spurs player or not. It's frightening, really.
It's really frightening. Obviously, it was reported on Sky Sports News just a couple of hours ago that Spurs have kind of turned their attention to Lewis Cook and Anthony Martial. If there was a deal to be done between Spurs and United with a kind of swap deal between Toby Martial, do you know how that would look in terms of a deal that would suit both parties, or is that not possible, do you think?
I think the thing is, at the moment, it's a bit like going to a supermarket. You've got a really, really long list on your notes, but sometimes you just forget to maybe pick up the odd thing up. And I think Spurs do have a long list. Like you mentioned Lewis Cook, he's probably a player, he is a player Tottenham admire. He's a quality player. And actually, I've got a few friends who are Leeds fans, because he was at Leeds before Bournemouth, and they say, this guy is going to be the England captain. They say to me, look, you all love Harry Winks, he's better than Harry Winks. Like, fair enough. I'm not going to disagree when I haven't seen him enough myself, but the way they've raved about him makes me quite excited. Now, if you're going to be trying to buy Lewis Cook on deadline day, you're going to have to put some serious cash in. So I can't see that happening. The one that could happen as a real deadline day thing would be Anthony Martial. He's had a horrendous summer with Mourinho. Mourinho's come out and said, there was a bit in the Mourinho quote that I found quite, he said about the baby, he said, of course, having baby is brilliant, but this is his second child. Sort of the impression that the second child isn't as important, or, that it's not the first, so really you should get used to it by now. It just struck a chord with me. And clearly it struck a chord with Martial, because he's been really unhappy. He didn't go back to America. It sounds like he's really unhappy since. So that is something I would go for. I think he'd be brilliant at Tottenham. What was told earlier in the summer was that Man United do not want him to leave for another English club, and you can see why. But my argument would be, well, we don't want to give Toby to you then.
Yeah.
As time is ticking, you do end up doing some kind of deals. For me, Son, Son, who I love, we all love, he's going to be missing for quite a while. He's got the Asian Games coming up. He's then got another Asian tournament over Christmas time, which I only found out about recently. So we're going to have to work something about Son out. So Martial just looks like a kind of player. And also, I know for a fact that he was someone Maurizio was really keen on when Martial was at Monaco. But United ended up paying silly money. Well, not silly money, but like 60-odd million quid.
Doesn't look silly nowadays, but yeah.
No, not at all. So because you could probably tell, I'm a massive Toby fan. I really do. I do think people have kind of lost their heads a bit on the criticism of him. We understand he's got injuries. He's 29, blah, blah, blah. But there's not escaping the fact that if he stays fit at Manchester United, he's a real asset. So let's get something off them. Let's get Martial, because he could do great things at Tottenham. He just feels a bit isolated. He just feels a bit like he's not wanted at Man U anymore, because Mourinho always talking about how much he loves Sanchez and Lukaku, Lukaku. And Martial probably just feels like it's probably time to move on. And if something could be done, that's where I would be looking at.
Do you think if a deal was to be done, would it be maybe Spurs offering money plus Toby for Martial, or would it be maybe United offering money plus Martial for Toby, or do you not know?
Well, this is the problem, isn't it? Because they are so far apart, it seems, in the valuation of Toby. Spurs are looking at 50 to 60, even maybe a bit more. Man United aren't willing to pay that, it seems. So there's going to have to be some kind of resolution. How much is Martial worth in today's market? 70? 65, 70? Mm-hmm. It's hard to say. Could even be a straight swap. I don't know. I mean, I'm not in the boardroom. I'm guessing. Most transfers that we get now are undisclosed, and I disagree with it. I think every transfer should be disclosed. They shouldn't be undisclosed. Wages should, sure, but not transfer fees. I think fans have a right to know how much their clubs are spending. So, in answer to this question, I don't know. I don't think anyone knows, to be honest with you.
Fair enough. A few more questions. I've been reading recently that Spurs might be interested in selling players like Nkudu, Janssen and Sissoko maybe after the window is closed to the rest of Europe. So with that in mind, could Spurs potentially bring some players in and then sell after the window's closed?
Yeah, well, the thing we've got here is that the transfer window closes on the 9th tomorrow. But in Europe it doesn't, and in certain countries you've got a few more weeks. I think that's where Spurs aren't panicking here. Now, Nkudu's actually had quite a good pre-season.
Yeah, that's true.
Though I still don't think it would do enough to him to have a future at Tottenham. Could be wrong, but I still think that it might just alert maybe some French clubs or whoever to maybe go and get him. We know for a fact Vincent Janssen has no future at Tottenham. We know that. So he'll be gone. You imagine, I think Spurs want a permanent there. But of course nothing's happened there. So you're right. I don't think they're panicking in that sense. I don't know about Sissoko leaving, to be honest with you. I don't, again, a guy that divides opinion. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a player that Spurs fans ever talk about so much as Sissoko, But I can see departures after the window. I totally agree with that. You'd imagine they'd want cash as well. But also they've got this issue about the Champions League and the homegrown issue. And it seems harsh on Spurs, because you look at other teams, you think surely if Spurs have got this issue, then other teams have. But then you read about Eric Dyer having a Portuguese background and etc. So it seems quite unlucky in that sense. So that's probably why they're delaying certain aspects. But as I said earlier, I'm still hoping that Pochettino's calm, because he knows what he's doing and they have certain targets they think they can acquire.
Is there any target? I'm hearing like Ndombele, Brozovic, Loptoka. Have you heard anything from those kind of players? Any interest?
I think what it is that Spurs scouts attend all these games with these players featured, and when because obviously when a scout goes to watch a game, their name has to be put on a piece of paper and the club they're representing. Obviously that gets distributed. So when that happens, they think, Tottenham are looking at this particular player. They are looking for someone in central midfield, which I think is a good idea, given Winks' ankle, Wanyama's always injured, Dembele's always injured, even if he stays. Mm-hmm. I'd hope one of them is true, but at the moment there's nothing concrete from what we understand. I don't think I've seen anywhere that anyone's got any concrete information on that. I think there's interest, like I said earlier, about a list of players. I'm sure they're all on this list. It's whether they can acquire this player so late in the day. I would say, you would have heard by now of concrete interest from one of those players by now.
What about Ryan Sessegnon? I heard about that one as well. Is there any truth in that one? Ryan Sessegnon?
I think the problem Spurs have with Sessegnon is that Fulham got promoted.
Yeah.
I actually interviewed Sessegnon a year ago, and he's very, very level-headed. I think he comes from a good family. He's got good people behind him. And he's probably looking at it now and you say, well, Fulham have done some really good business. They brought in the likes of Andre Schürrle. They seem to be more of a Premier League outfit than a Championship one in a funny way. I would be absolutely amazed if that gets resurrected tomorrow. Amazed. I saw something on a website which I don't have too much time for about Session and Rose going the other way. Again, I've not heard anything about that. I've not heard anything about that. I mean, again, if I hear anything, I'll be A, surprised and B, delighted. But it's going to take some serious money for that to happen so late in the day.
One final question. Obviously, when Pochettino signed a new contract at the end of last season, there were a lot of rumours it was because he was promised backing from Daniel Levy. And obviously, there's rumours he's frustrated that maybe he hasn't been backed. Is there any truth to either that he was promised backing or that he's frustrated at the moment?
I don't think there's... I think everyone's frustrated. He's bound to be. I don't think he's particularly frustrated at Daniel. From my understanding and the little bits of things I hear from Tottenham is that they work very, very well together. I know from the last few years that he's often given players from Daniel and other scouts and they've offered them to him and Maurizio has said no. Maurizio has the final say. Maybe, personally, I think, going to the Grealish, I think they should have got it done when Villa were in sort of financial mess in June, July. Because Villa are now in a very good situation, and their owners, as I say, they're big hitters in the world. They will make moves. They just probably arrived at Villa a little bit too late. But in terms of Maurizio, he'll just be unhappy like all of us that we haven't got anything done just yet. But
do you know if he signed? Do you know if he signed the contract on the promise of backing from Levy?
But at the end of the day, he might be getting backing, and he might get it tomorrow, and Spurs might go out and spend 50, 60 million tomorrow. This is possibly a conversation we could have when we can review the summer, maybe in the next few days. I'd be amazed now that something will be going on right now. That, in Daniel's eyes, is backing. Now, only they know, and no one else, only they know why nothing's happened yet. We can read as many articles as we like, but they are the only two, Donna Cullen and other chief scouts. They're the only ones who know why nothing's been done at the moment. As a fan, I'm amazed. And I'm disappointed. And I certainly will be disappointed if it's just Jack Grealish, because I think Spurs need a bit more. I have friends say to me, Tottenham have got one of the best teams in the league. What are you moaning about? And these are coming from certain fans who are strengthening. I think we can all agree Spurs need a couple of new faces, and I think it's good for the squad. I think it's nice to see a couple walk in and go, he's good. I think it's good to freshen it up now and again. And I think they know that. Maurizio sees them every day. The problem as well is, my sympathy here is as well, we all love the World Cup. I don't think anyone expected England to get to the semi-final. Belgium maybe, but we've got 9 players who have just returned. They're doing the first stage of pre-season. When you've got Newcastle in 3 days' time, 4 days' time, whatever, it's just unbelievable. Yeah. The season is starting ridiculously early. I don't even know why, because we have no summer tournament next year. The transfer window was all agreed by most Premier League clubs, including Tottenham, to close early. And it's backfiring on some clubs. Tottenham aren't the only club who are panicking now. Manchester United. Would they be doing this on deadline day if Alex Ferguson was still in charge? Not a chance. Not a chance. Chelsea selling their best goalkeeper. Okay, they're getting a couple of good players in, but their manager only came a few weeks ago.
So everything's very rushed.
Yeah, I have to say, and with gritted teeth, the team in the top 6 who have had the best summer is Arsenal, because they've had no players really at the World Cup. Now, the thing with Arsenal for me is I don't really know many of their new players. They're all an unknown commodity. Their manager's an unknown as well for England. He's won trophies in Spain and France, but we don't know how he'll get on in the Premier League. But there are advantages, the likes of Aubameyang, who started well last season, had a full pre-season, the likes of Ramsey, Lacazette, they've not been at the World Cup. So you expect them possibly to hit the ground running, because you can't expect all of Tottenham's 9 to start at Newcastle. I reckon maybe Vertonghen will. because poor old Jan, he always gets in. Lloris, maybe 50-50, Kane 50-50, Trippier 50-50. It's all opinion now, but as I say, it's been a really messy summer for us. The US tour. Well done to the boys for going out there. But I mean, obviously, financially, it works for Tottenham to go to these tours. But
none of our players play.
I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, when Spurs lost 4-1 in Spain the other night, I mean, it doesn't matter, does it? It just doesn't. I mean, the only plus points I think of pre-season was with a couple of youngsters impressed, Lamela and Lucas impressed, and Lucas in particular. And you're desperate for a new signing when you say he's like a new signing. But you'd expect maybe what Lucas to start on Saturday and have a good blinder. That's what we're all hoping. But yeah, so we've gone from pride and euphoria of England and Spurs representation to now going, the bloody World Cup, it's ruined our start to the season. So I think there are many factors as to why there's been frustrations. We know as well the way Daniel likes to operate. Maybe those kind of, not tricks, but the way he goes about business is perhaps maybe caught up on him a little bit now, and people are sort of like privy to the games.
All right, well, let's hope for an extremely busy day tomorrow. And we're going to be by the computer all day, waiting for all your updates. Where are you tomorrow for Sky Sports?
So tomorrow for Sky Sports, I'll be at Crystal Palace's training ground. So unfortunately, I doubt I'll be saying about Wilfried Zaha going to Spurs.
Well, you let us know first, eh?
Well, he's one player who I've been really telling everyone that Tottenham should have gone for this summer. I had to cover Palace a lot last season. He single-handedly kept them up. He's absolutely brilliant. It'd have been brilliant at Tottenham, but that won't be happening. But yeah, I'll be still getting bits of Spurs information. Absolutely, no doubt about that. And let's hope we're happy come 5 o'clock.
Were you ever outside on deadline day when all the fans used to huddle around the reporters?
Well. We're actually not allowed to have the fans around
anymore. I was going to ask if you missed it.
I mean, we're going to have them, but they're not going to be. Well, I mean, they're more than welcome to walk around, but they're not going to be in shot. I mean, a few well high publicised incidents took place. A few
very well publicised. Objects, I believe.
Yeah. So so it's all changed now. So. But yeah, I mean, I think we'll be at Tottenham's training ground outside as well. But in terms of access for fans, I'm not sure. So best to stick to Twitter and watch it on the telly.
Be sure to do that. Well, thank you so much for your time, Michael. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. We're going to have you back on at some point.
No worries. Yeah.
Honestly, thank you so much for your time. Obviously, check out Michael. He's on Sky Sports TV on Twitter. Or link will be in the description below. Cheers for coming on, Michael.
My pleasure. Take care, guys. See you later.